Hello, everyone. Today's session is all about explaining clearly the preparation exam 3 of the nurturing process. So the total number of questions that you have are around 33-35, and the pass percentage is 95 out of 100. So I would try to explain you the questions one by one, and I will make sure you understand how to answer the question. So guys, basically most of the questions or all of the questions are actually from the can be referred from the workbook. I'm sorry. All the answers can be pulled out from the workbook. So you just have to go through the workbook thoroughly to answer these questions. Okay. So let's talk about your question number 1 to 6. So to answer the question number 1 to 6, you have to understand a case study. So this case study explains about how a customer can make a payment through card or through wallet or through cash or through net banking. So he can make the payment through 4 ways: card, wallet, cash, and or net banking. Okay. Number 1. The first question says draw a use case diagram. So using the scenario above, please draw a use case diagram wherein the primary actor would be the customer and the use cases would be make payment, and the include would be cash, wallet, card or net banking. The second question is all about derive the boundary classes, controller classes and entity classes. So please understand, you just have to identify what are the boundary classes, what are the controller classes, and what are the entity classes. Okay, so as we all know, entity classes are all the actors. The controller classes are all the use cases, and the boundary classes has a rule wherein one actor and a use case is equal to one boundary class. 2 actors and a use case is 2 boundary classes, and 3 actors and a use case would be 3 boundary classes, so and so forth. Okay, so you have to identify the classes using the above scenario. Then the third question here speaks about the 3-tier architecture. So wherein you have to place these classes in 3-tier architecture. As we all know that 3-tier architecture has 3 layers to it. One is business layer. Second one is called as application layer, and the data layer. So the first one is called as application layer, wherein you will place all your related classes and your boundary classes would be sitting in your application and your business logic layer, and entity classes will be sitting in your data layer. So please verify your workbook and get the answers. The fourth one here talks about the domain model for customer making payment through net banking. So you have to check out what could be the domain model, and you have to explain and probably write in a paragraph what this domain model is all about. Okay, fine. The next question is a sequence diagram. So in the sequence diagram, there is a scenario given to you guys, wherein it is all about payment done by customer net banking. If you look at our workshop, we had the payment made through a card. Here, the payment is made through net banking. So just think and understand how you can draw the sequence diagram. If possible, you can use the tool MS Visio for doing it, or you can use a paper, but I would recommend you to use MS Visio to submit the sequence diagram. It's very easy to understand. The sixth one is called as a conceptual model. So please, you have to explain what could be the conceptual model for the above case. Okay, so again, it is available in the workbook. You just have to look at the theory part and you have to explain the conceptual model. Guys, so please understand, the 1 to 6 questions are not generic. They are very much exclusively revolving around the case study provided. So please do not give any generic answers, and please do not copy them from anywhere. You have to customize them according to the case study and answer the questions. Okay, so coming to the 7th question, what is MVC architecture? Explain MVC rules to derive classes from the use case diagram and guidelines to place classes in the 3-tier architecture. So this is a very, which is a generic question, and you have to refer to the workbook wherein you have to explain what is MVC architecture. Okay, then you have to explain what are the rules to pull out the classes from the use case diagram, and also what are the guidelines to place these classes in the 3-tier architecture. So the 3 elements to this question, guys. Number 1, MVC architecture. Second one is you have to write down all the rules to derive the classes, and also all the guidelines to place the classes in the 3-tier architecture. So it's a 4 marks question. So make sure you do not give a small para. Try to answer the complete question and then submit the answer. The 8th one talks about what are the BA contributions in the project waterfall model, all stages, which is 4 marks question. So basically you have to explain about what does the BA do in a waterfall model, what are the complete stages in the waterfall model, what is the business analyst contribution in the waterfall model. Probably BA would gather the requirements, document them. So you have to explain everything in the waterfall model, starting from the pre-project phase to the deployment phase. Okay, so please explain the contributions in the project of the BA. 9th one is what is conflict management. Explain using Thomas Kilmann technique. So here we have another scenario here, guys. So basically you have to explain what is conflict management. Please do not write 1 sentence or 2 sentences. Make sure you explain it in your own words, what is conflict management. And you have to also explain how can we resolve the conflicts using the Thomas Kilmann technique, and also explain what is Thomas Kilmann technique, and explain how we can resolve the conflicts through this technique. The 10th one is list down all the reasons for a project failure. It's a very simple answer. You have it in the workbook. You can refer the workbook. What are the challenges faced in the projects for a BA? Again, we have a few challenges, do's and don'ts, and challenges that are faced by the business analyst. That is also mentioned in the workbook. Please use, you can write down here. Next, the 12th question talks about what are the document naming standards. So we have the document naming standards is project ID, your document name, your version number, your document number. So we do have the paragraph which clearly mentions about how do we change the documents, and we have the standards for it. Please use that piece from the workbook, and you can write down here. And what are do's and don'ts of a business analyst? Again, it's a very straightforward question, guys, that is mentioned in the workbook. What should BA should do and what a BA should not do or working in a company and in a project. Now, 14th question talks about what is the difference between a package and a subsystem. This is nothing but your object-oriented approach concept. So we have in the object-oriented approach, before the use case diagram, it is clearly mentioned what is a package and what is subsystem, and what is the difference between the package and the subsystem. So please explain what they are and then write down the differences between the packages and the subsystems. Okay. 15th one speaks about what is camel casing and explain where it will be used. So if you remember, guys, camel casing is nothing but a unique way of writing the in the object-oriented approach, the objects. So we have it is nothing but how a developer would explain the direction of the object, how the behavior of the object. So that unique way of writing is called as camel casing. I'm sure you all would know. And where is it used? We have a diagram that is mentioned in the workbook. So please use a scenario and use an example if required. And then please explain what is camel casing and how and where it is used. One hint I would like to give is it is used actually in a sequence diagram. So you can also explain that in a very good manner. 16th one speaks about illustrate development server. And what are the accesses does business analyst have? So if you remember, we have multiple types of servers. We have development server, UAT server, and a deployment server. So you have to explain what is development server, who uses development server. We have a diagram also with the V model there. Then we can also talk about what are the accesses does a business analyst, which servers does a business analyst have access to, right? So if you remember, we as a business analyst, we should have access to all the functional servers, not a technical one. So that is a hint. So please try to write a nice paragraph about it. The 17th one is called as what is data mapping. What do you mean by data mapping is, see, let's assume a customer would want to get a two-wheeler loan. Okay, so basically to get a two-wheeler loan, the bank has to go and check from the database if I am eligible to get the loan. So, right, in order to understand am I eligible or not, the organization has to pull my records from multiple tables and the multiple data records. Okay, so in order to understand what are these records and what are these tables, when we are trying to pull, in the sense the database administrator is trying to pull, right, and there is a data that is connected between the tables, that concept is called as data mapping. So please, you can also verify your workbook and understand what is data. It's a very clear cut answer, it's a very simple answer. Please pull out the answer from there. Okay, now coming to the next question here, it clearly mentions what is API. Explain how would you use API integration in the case of your application. So the application type is date format is DD, MM, YY, and it is accepting some data from other application from US, from United States of America, whose date format is MM, DD, YY. So what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to tell what is API. So guys, what do you mean by API? API is application programming interface. It is application programming interface. And how does integration happen? Wherein I would want to replace the date format from DD, MM, YY to MM, DD, YY. Right? So you have to explain what is this integration, how this integration can happen. Okay, so you have probably one way you can do is you can show it through a diagram, or probably you can just talk about how the connectivity you can create between the integration. Okay, the ninth one here is a difference between the brainstorming and chat sessions. These two are nothing but your elicitation techniques that the business analyst would use. So we have in requirements engineering or requirements management, which clearly talks about what is brainstorming and what is chat sessions, and you can explain one or two differences between these two. 20th one speaks about why document analysis is one of the compulsory technique we use in project, right? So what do you mean by document analysis? Document analysis is nothing but looking at the previous documents or templates or anything in order to understand the current scenario. Why is it that compulsory, guys? No matter which project that you're working on, one of the very important responsibility of business analyst is process reengineering. So when you're doing process reengineering, one of our job is not to start work from scratch, but to use the current process and then create the proposed solution. In order to understand the current solution, the current process, reading the documents is the essential element, right? So why is it? So you have to justify the reasons why document analysis is that important or a compulsory technique. Clear so far? The 21st question is, in which context we will use reverse engineering? In which scenarios one should use reverse engineering? If you look at it, what is reverse engineering? Let's assume I have a TV and I would want to see which part has a problem. So the best way is I open the TV and I look at which specific piece has a problem. Right? Now you have to answer which context and which scenarios reverse engineering would be one of the very essential elicitation technique. The 22nd question is, what is the difference between brainstorming and focus groups? Again, brainstorming and focus groups are again elicitation techniques. Please explain what is the difference between these both. Then 23rd is observation technique, one of another elicitation technique, and we have two types of techniques, observations here, active and passive. So you have to explain what is active observation and passive observation. 24th is how do we conduct a requirements workshop. Now what do you mean by requirements workshop is we are trying to have a workshop. How do we conduct that workshop? What kind of elements must I put in the workshop? Who could be the participants in the workshop? When should I use a workshop? That kind of answers you can give in this for this question. The 21st one is, in which context interview technique can be conducted by a BA? How many approaches are there in conducting interviews? Structured, unstructured, explain them. So you have to again explain in which scenario interview technique would be a good one. And what are the approaches that you can conduct interviews? Can I have a structured interview or I can have an unstructured interview? You have to explain that in a paragraph. Okay, clear? Now, you can also explain the difference between the open-ended questions and the close-ended questions. So, 25th question will require, now, what is an interview technique? In which scenario you should use an interview technique? How many approaches are there in conducting interviews? The hint is given that says structured, unstructured, and you should also explain the difference between an open-ended question and a close-ended question. So there are 4 marks and there are 4 pieces that are asked in a question. So please answer the complete question. 26 one speaks about questionnaire technique. Where will we use? Give an example. So here you should use a questionnaire technique. Where will we use this technique? And you can also give one basic example as to where a questionnaire or a survey technique would be the best one. Okay. 27th one speaks about how to sort the requirements. Where will we use? Give an example. What is sorting the requirements? Defining the requirements. Where should we define the requirements? In the requirement management. And you can also use an example to take any example, guys. Here you can take an IT or a non-IT, no problem. Even from your domain also, you can take an example. Prioritize the requirements. Where will we use? Give an example. What is the technique for prioritizing the requirements? Moscow. So please explain what is Moscow, where we should use Moscow technique, and also give an example. Now, what is a weekly status reporting? How will we drive? So basically, to understand what is the status of your project on a weekly basis, we will actually create a weekly status reports, right? And how will we drive is how we'll use start and you will end the reports. So basically, you just have to explain what kind of contents should come in the weekly status reports. You can just use your brain and you can just come out with a small report. There is no like a template available. Okay. Then we have the 30th question that speaks about minutes of the meeting document. So basically what is minutes of the meeting is when the meeting is over, we will just jot down the important points. That document is called as minutes of the meeting document. So you just can prepare one basic sample. What should, according to you, what elements or contents must come into the minutes of the meeting document. Then we have a change tracker document. So basically what is a change tracker? Whenever we want to, whenever the changes come to us, before we even decide should I go or shouldn't I go with the change, we will log all the changes in one change log document. So you can actually explain what is a change log document and what is a change tracker in other words, and you also prepare one sample for that. So guys, the samples that are not available in the workshop, please use your intelligence and your that learning lesson, what you have learned in the workshop, and then you can prepare the samples. Okay. So I'm assuming that we are very clear with question number 31. Till 31, it is all clear. So now let's get into the question numbers 32 to 36. Now, so talking about the case study again, the case study says, TTS company is a multinational company giving services on software development in the BFSI vertical. They have multiple products available. They have R&D wing, which continuously try to improve the quality of the products, and innovation is their USP. So they believe in innovation. This is helping TTS company to be in the top 10 list. TTS company came up with one initiative to help their employees with loans based on their eligibility. To support this issue, they propose the development of employees loan management system. So this organization TTS is trying to develop a loan management system for its employees, because this company does believe in research and innovation, and they would definitely want to help their employees with the multiple loans so that they can use it for their multiple reasons. Okay, so now let's get this. The first para is only the information just to understand what is the organization all about. Now the second para does speak about this management system. So what is this management system doing, guys? It is trying to help the organization manage a loan for its employees online in an efficient manner. employees can request loans, which will be reviewed by the HR and the accounts departments, and then loans will be approved or rejected. In case the loan is rejected, the employee will be informed for the reason of the loan rejection. So basically, whenever an employee is requesting for a loan, the application will be reviewed by the HR and the accounts department. And these are the departments who will decide, should I approve the loan or reject the loan. Okay. So when you get an approved, you'll get an approved email. Even when your loan gets rejected, even then also you'll get a rejection email. Okay. The employee would receive the email no matter what. However, in the case of loan approval terms and conditions, the loan repayment schedule will be provided to the employee. As I mentioned earlier, you will get an email for rejection and for approval. For rejection, you will be notified of a reason for rejection. For approval, you will be getting certain details such as loan approval terms and conditions, the loan repayment schedule, and at the same time, the loan amount will be sent to the employee. If the employee will agree with the loan offer, terms and conditions, repayment schedule, the loan will be granted to the employee. An automatic deduction from the employee's salary will be made. Okay, guys. Now, 32nd question speaks about what reports does account departments will generate. According to us, what kind of report should an accounts department generate, guys? One report would be loan approval report, loan rejection report, loan approval terms and conditions, loan repayment schedule report, and the loan offer report. So basically, because accounts department are the one who will actually are the very important people. So you just have to think the 5 reports that the accounts department will generate. The next one is called as what is the structure of the message or mail communicated from the HR department to the employee in case of the loan is rejected. So guys, here in this scenario, just give us one small email kind of thing wherein the HR will reject. So when the HR is rejecting a loan, what kind of information should the HR department include in this email? So the hint here would be the reason for rejection, the name of an employee, the tenure of the employee, and any specific reason if you want to notify, that also can be included in this email. So please use your experience, and then you can draft one simple email or a message. You can just take a picture and just send it to you. Probably you can type a message in your Gmail account and just take a screenshot and send it to them. That will be a more realistic scenario in this case. Then 34th question speaks about what is the structure of the message or the mail communicated from the HR department to the employee when the loan is approved. So number one, when the loan is approved, we'll congratulate the employee. You will tell them that these are the reasons that which actually let the loan got approved. Probably you'll say that, the conduct, the performance, the no loans and whatever. So again, similar, the way you're sending an email for rejection, you should also create a message for approval. Think about and how you can answer the question. Design a sample report on the loans application received by the accounts department. So here he speaks about all the different loans, list of loans that is received by the accounts department. So what can you say that? You can just write down few loan types, two-wheeler loan, probably education loan, probably health loan or whatever. So you can just create one sample report on the loans application received by the accounts department. 36, which reporting tools we will use for generating reports, guys? We have learned Power BI and Tableau. So you can just explain a little bit how Tableau can help and how Power BI can help in generating the reports. Okay. The 37th one is difference between traditional development model and agile development model. So here, please give us 5 differences in your traditional development model and agile development. Traditionally, here could be waterfall, V model or spiral model, and agile. So think and then again pull out what could be the difference between the traditional and agile, and put 5 differences. And the last question, 38th question here, explains about brainstorming technique. What is a brainstorming technique and where we should use this brainstorming technique? So this is the end of all the questions and the way you should answer them, guys. So I see that there are multiple question marks given. One is 1 mark, 2 marks, 3 marks, 4 and 5 marks. So please remember the number for the marks, and then accordingly, please give the answers. So do not make it very short when it's a 5 marks question, or don't make it too long when it's a 2 marks question. So according to the marks that is allotted to the question, please write down the answers. Okay, hope this video or hope this audio is very useful for you. Hope you will actually get a very clear understanding on the questions and how to answer them. In case of any questions, please don't feel to reach out to the nurturing team. I'm sure we would help you furthermore. Thank you, all the very best, and take care. Bye-bye.